Gather, veterans. It's time to join the fight. The long war begins.
I have endured eons in a Xenos prison because of my duty. I have slain a fellow sister when she became corrupted by Xenos filth. I have seen idolaters profane themselves before a false saint while their planet ruptured around them. My force is mobile. My will is sure. My cause is noble. My power is pure. In the Emperor's name, I will not fail.
This is The Long War. I'm Rob Baer, and joining me once again are my partners in crime, Kenny Boucher.
Yo, dog.
Stephen Fore.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
Mike Haspil.
Hey, what's going on?
And Jason Craze.
Hey, what's happening, guys?
Not too much. So this is our 100th episode, guys.
I don't believe any of you.
I've never done anything 100 times in a row.
That's pretty solid.
I've done one thing more than 100 times.
Is this the part where we talk about poop on our 100th anniversary?
I have a pretty solid Friday record for doing things in a row. It's not what you think.
No, it's literally exactly what we think.
It's exactly what we think. The tissue companies of the world rejoice on Friday.
Monet came back from her film festival, the Bennington Film Festival. And so this is what's funny. It's like literally just coincidental geographic placement of a couple of items in my Beats lab that you would think are pretty mundane. First off, lotion. So lotion somehow, and like, I do what I do, you know what I'm saying? But like this lotion somehow just ended up on this space in my Beats lab would not normally be, right? So it somehow migrated from where I would normally keep lotion for certain tasks, and it ended up here. Totally, legitimately unrelated. Just for some reason, things get when she's not here, the house becomes a mess, and things And so then, over the course of the week, she was gone. Somehow, a balled up paper towel ended up on the same exact plane
area. Line of sight with your eyes.
With the lotion container, and that's just where it lived the entire week. She wasn't here, and I cleaned the whole house, top to bottom, before she gets home. And of course, I told her, I was like, "Yo, I kept the house clean the entire time you were gone." What really happened, obviously, is I got super dirty and I cleaned it the last second.
Yeah, scrambled as you told me you touched down at the airport.
And so she's in my room. She's like, "Hey, what's up?" And she sees her eye line has been drawn to this situation. She's like, "Are you fucking kidding me right now?" She's like, "Get rid of your nasty ass rag and put the lotion back in the bathroom." And I was like, at that point, there's nothing I could say. I couldn't be like, I wasn't doing that.
No, that's obviously that is you obviously weren't doing that with this said time and situation. But there's no way, if you're telling me you had to prove to a court, a jury, you're going to jail, bro. Like you're dead.
Yeah, there's no way I'm going to convince my peers.
It puts the lotion in the bathroom or it gets the hose again.
But in all reality, there was probably, for whatever purpose, balls of paper towels and tissues strewn throughout the entire house.
That's what I was saying. Is like, I mean, I didn't say it because I couldn't defend it, but literally there was multiple balls of paper towels all around the place because now I was just cleaning things and throwing stuff on the floor because I didn't have a lady here to keep me from being Oxter the Grouch living in a dumpster. So it was bad, and I don't know how the lotion ended up there, but I was, literally, there's a time and place for lotion, and I have a time and a designated place for lotion. It just wasn't this place.
Yeah, here at the Long War, at the 100th episode, we keep it classy. That is it. Right?
That is your claim to be classy.
If you guys haven't realized that we, from episode 1 until 100, we ain't changed. There is still shit will make its way through this episode where I'm sure Jason has got an amazing shit story that eventually will come out. We are keeping it 100, maybe a little too 100 sometimes. You see what I do?
I am 100% pure, clean, unadulterated, available for everybody for public consumption. You can take me anywhere.
I don't believe you.
When you have guests over your house, you make them sleep on the floor. That's what I heard.
Yes.
Yeah,
this is true.
Mine is for a completely different reason, though. The Beats lab is in total is 800 square feet. So the floor, even floor space is a commodity, but that's the only thing.
come to find out, you're lucky you get floor space.
Yeah.
There's a hotel you could go
sleep
pay
in that
for
folding
down the
chair.
road.
By the way, I've been meaning to ask you, can I borrow that vacuum cleaner that's in your Beats lab? I need to vacuum.
Oh yeah, that's definitely there's so little storage space in my crib that the Beats lab is also where vacuum cleaners and cleaning product live.
Oh, I thought that was another whacking it off joke. Like,
no, there's legitimately a vacuum cleaner back there.
Mom, I told you not to interrupt me while I'm vacuuming.
Oh, wasn't that scary? The
scary movie. Yeah. No, but legitimately, there's a vacuum.
Yeah, but if you looked at my closet over there, it's filled to the brim with like toilet paper and paper towels and stuff, like all the stores. My Beats lab. As much as I'd like to argue around here about what the state of the Beats lab is, turns out that even though I was like, yo, I need 10 by 10 for my Beats lab, in this room is exactly 10 by 10. I only got actually 7 by 4.
And your body mass takes up 2 by 3.
I'm telling you, like at the old place, we measured it out. Remember, Rob, my whole Beats lab, and I was like, we measured it out. It's like, okay, within this room, my actual working space is 10 by 10. So as long as my new place is at least 10 by 10, we know I can technically work in there.
Working space, though.
And you'd be shocked at, how much smaller of a space you can work in than you think you can.
I was getting ready to say, like, that room that you're in Durham was like definitely bigger than 10 by 10.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but like my actual workspace,
yeah,
like
inside of it, yeah,
and that's what I'm saying. My whole room is 10 by 10.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So even though my camera hasn't looked different, even though my intros don't look any different, and even though my tutorials look exactly the same, that's just what the camera shows you. It is so much tighter.
Movie magic. It's movie magic.
God.
I messed up when I moved here, and I tried putting my Beats lab in the 10 by 10. And after we did the first webcast with me being here, I realized, all right, I need more room. So the master bedroom became the office.
Oh, that's right. I remember that. You moved everything. Because when we moved everything in originally, you were like, nah, I just thought the bed's here and we'll switch it. And then, of course, it got switched back.
I totally approve of that because I think master bedrooms are stupid anyway. What a waste of goddamn bedroom space. Like, I don't hang out in my bedroom.
Yeah, seriously. What am I, a teenager?
Like, yeah, my bedroom isn't my room. Like...
Yeah, what do you have in there? Like lotion and vacuums? I mean, gosh, come on.
Paper towels.
Wait, what? We're not supposed to just hang out in the bedroom anymore?
Yeah.
I mean, you can.
I mean, you can say whatever you want to sound cool right now, but you don't hang out in the bedroom.
I feel like that's a mistake.
Yeah, I do. And I listen to my LPs in there. On my iPhone.
I got my record collection. I got my posters of Vinnie Barbarino on the wall.
That's where I do all my math with my TI-83.
You mean you write boobs upside down a couple times?
Yep. And I wish I had a way to send that to someone else instead.
Yeah, wish you could text it
to them. Yeah. Well, on a side note that is 40K related, you know how pumped I am right now?
How pumped are you?
The NIDS are back.
Ooh, yeah, no,
they're back and taking over the universe.
There's just one rule that's been spoiled, and they're already back.
No, they're literally yes.
So let me ask you this. Because we're not going to break down the rule at this juncture, but I want you to think on this long and hard by the time we circle back to it.
Phrasing.
If the Phantom Inch.
If that rule could be applied to your current 7th edition NIDS in 7th edition, okay, and that was it, and you could do everything that rule said you can do, do you think NIDS would be back? Don't answer now. Do you think NIDS would be back today?
No, you need to take some time. Think about it.
Yeah, I wanted to really break it down. That'll be that. So I want to circle back to that.
He's like, yo,
I'm so ready. Yes, absolutely. I love this question.
All right. Yes. Well, let's break down. Let's do the tabletop market watch because there is some products coming out. Spoiler alert, not 8th edition. Now, all signs are continuing to point to 8th edition being released either the 2nd or 3rd week of June. Store managers were notified to get all their new terrain in place for some big event on the 10th. Don't know if that's a demo day where folks can come in and learn 8th, a preview day, a pre-order day, a release day. Don't know. They don't even know. They're keeping them all in the dark. But what we do know is that is one of the green days that they said, hey, you better be here. Don't take off. There is a big managers meeting at the end of this month in Dallas for all the GW store managers here in the States. So I'm sure there'll be more information coming out soon, if not over Memorial Day weekend itself, which is coming up next weekend, hard and fast.
Robbie B, I'm sorry, man. I forgot to tell you.
Phrasing.
GW is taking that whole weekend off and everything because that's my engagement party weekend. Like, I invited all of them.
Oh, was that it?
Yes. Yeah, I invited everybody. So I told them, I was like, y'all should all come. If you don't, we're going to label you all as trolls. And so they're like, oh, shit, we cannot have that happen.
Nope. You picked a good day to have you.
Yeah. What can I say?
Yeah, no, good timing. Very good timing. So that's Juice's engagement party is a future release. We'll be talking about that as it gets closer. So coming up next week, well, actually coming out this week, I guess, is 2 new Blood Bowl releases. Well, I guess technically 3. There's Death. What is it? The new season 2 of Death Zone, the expansion. It's going to go over. It's got 12 new star players. It's got some legendary teams on there. Like if you want to field like a pre-built team already ready to go, all those rules are in there. They've updated the I want to call them keywords, but I forget exactly what they're called. But it's the special. It's like their version of USRs with the new special rules that are in that book with the star players. But also they've updated a couple of things where applicable, and they put all of the current roster references in the back of the book, just so everything's as current as it can be. So it's almost like they kind of did a little mini General's Handbook kind of release 6 months later. Almost, because remember this stuff came out around Christmas time. So if you're in a Blood Bowl, it's definitely worth picking up. I think it's $32 retail. Then there's the 2 Goblin releases. You got a Goblin team and a Goblin expansion sprue, which is just 4 Gobos on it itself. So I don't know enough about the Goblin teams, so I can't tell you if you need more guys. Imagine you need more guys. Maybe not. I don't know. So somebody clue us in if you play Blood Bowl and you know about those little goblins, so we can sound smart when we need to. So that's this week's releases. Now next week is New Age of Sigmar. What do you guys think is coming out for Age of Sigmar? Any ideas?
Skaven.
Is there Skaven? There's not Skaven. No Skaven.
Vampire stuff.
Oh yeah, there's some vampire stuff.
Vampire stuff's gonna be my heat in AOS.
They're actually really good. They work very similar to they regain a lot of wounds. So I know that's your
I watched I literally I mean that's my wheelhouse, you know, like making it just being unkillable and making things obnoxious. That's
yeah, well, there you go. That's you've chosen wisely. So coming out next week is the Age of Sigmar Skirmish book, which I guess is a new way to play. Maybe it's Mordheim, maybe it's not. Supposedly it's set in that Shadow Spire, whatever. We don't exactly have all the details.
So it's like maybe Kill Team or whatever for AOS?
Could be. Yeah, could be. It's all very ambiguous now. But the thing that isn't ambiguous is the fact that the book costs $10. So that's interesting.
That's crazy, dude. Like, that's almost like you have to pick it up if you play AOS at all.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, I feel like that's a solid price. You might as well. I mean, it's $10. What do you got to lose at that point? Then there's 4 boxes that are coming out. You've got Stormcast Eternal, Hammerstrike Brethren, Ironjaw Weird Knob Warband, Flesh Eater Cohorts, Night Feast Hunters, Khorne Bloodbound Frenzied Gore Tribe, which are all $65 retail. So they may be like some sort of bundle box or something very similar to the Armored Assault boxes for Games Workshop, which were basically like a troop and a transport or whatever. Don't know yet because they're not on GW site. This is all just, the new release sheet that's floating around. So that's kind of interesting. And then they have something called the Sigmarite Mausoleum, which is $80. I guess it's terrain of some sort or some bundle or some combination. Again, not clear on what it is, but $80, it might be pretty cool. Maybe it's some sort of bundle of the existing stuff to play this perhaps Mordheim-esque game. We don't know yet, but that I could definitely see that being the case. And then they're coming out with a new battle mat too, which is $80. I don't know if it's the fold-up one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah. That is basically the releases for next week. So it looks like they're still kind of slow rolling stuff out, getting on into the climb.
I don't know. Are you guys experiencing the same thing? I'm having almost having I'm having a fit of I don't care right now. Like I don't like
okay. Like you rid of that.
Like a bout of I don't give a shit right now. Like, cause like, as much as like I do love AOS, I think it's amazing. And it's almost the only thing we can play right now because we don't have 8th edition, and why bother playing 7th edition right now? So I should care more about AOS, but all I can care about right now is 8th edition.
Dude, Kenny, I have to agree with you because that is the biggest negative thing I have to say about 8th edition is that I was ready to finish my Stormcast Eternals. I'm not kidding. They're all base coated. They're ready to go. I cannot get excited about them. I'm like, no. And I should be painting them right now because right now is the perfect time to paint them because as soon as 8th drops, I'm going to be hot into 40K, but I just can't even get excited about it. I'm like, nah, I'm so hyped about 8th edition that AOS is almost dead to me. And I love that game.
Haspil, on the internet, there's this thing called Twitch. And on Twitch, there's a channel called Spikey Bits TV who happens to be painting the dragon cat right meow.
Oh, man.
That could get you inspired. You should tune in.
I should paint my Stormcast now so that when 8th drops, then all my Stormcast will be done. That would be the smart thing to do. And instead, I'm painting Death Watch and Grey Knights because I don't have enough Grey Knights.
No, not at all. I've never seen your Grey Knights. They're not awesome. Their girth is mighty. Super mighty, actually. But now, that brings up an interesting point because, a lot of stores are, I've talked to a lot of stores out there. I'm like, hey, how's your sales? How's your sales going here? Locally here, the Hobby Town just started selling their stuff for 15% off retail just out of the gate. And I was like, that's interesting, just like across the board. So I'm almost wondering, does that are stores being affected? So I talked to a lot of different stores that I know, and all of them seem to be saying the same thing. Like, it's super slow right now, but people are still buying paints and hobby supplies. And I'm like, well, hold on. Wasn't that the case before? Wasn't people always buying paints and hobby supplies before? And they're like, oh, yeah. And I'm like, uh-oh. So a lot of weirdness happening right now. I guess you could call that market fluctuations.
Well, except that I feel like as soon as 8th drops, they're going to more and make up for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we talked about we agree with this strategy. We think that in the end it's going to work out.
Yeah, no, I do too. I'm not saying one way or another. I'm just kind of reporting what I'm hearing on the street, Yeah,
and that's why I was just saying it's like, I don't know, you guys having the same melange, like was it malaise? Like
malaise.
I'm feeling like right now, like I love AOS and like I am gonna like it's more interesting to me right now than 40K technically, but I'm like, oh my God, I just need to know what these rules are. So like, because this is something I'm really excited about. Taking like my Chaos Army that I own with no new fucking models, nothing, and playing it in 8th edition and seeing how different it plays. And
exactly, it's going to be like it's brand new again.
Yeah, and seeing how brand new it feels, seeing how differently it plays is exactly the same, collection of units, and enjoying the challenge that might, be presented to me with a less than optimized list now, because my list is as optimized as I've made it in previous editions. So I'm really happy and excited to like potentially be confronted with like, this is no longer what's optimized, because being optimized, there's so many more opportunities than there used to be. So like I'm so just on the edge of my seat waiting to pull out my Spawn and my Molothians, my demon princes, like all that stuff, my sorceress, and just seeing the changes and just playing them without even looking at what would be more optimized.
Oh, see that would be interesting to take the 7th edition challenge, like play your old army exactly
as unaltered as legally
right. within the confines as best you can for like the first 2 weeks, because how to play your army in 7th edition. So you're not trying to be ambitious and start a new army and learn a whole new thing. Everybody take the 7th edition challenge where you just play your own version of your current 7th edition list in 8th edition, and see how it goes and learn from there.
Wow.
So,
And
Robbie B, it is a great concept, and Kenny is a good example to use this, or a good person to use this example on, because he still lives by the I am a chaos guy, so I'm gonna play chaos. I moved away from I am a NID guy, I play NID, so I'm doing these things. But like in all reality, I could hope to imagine that something like my WarCon does not exist anymore.
True.
Abusive lists that I would use, the Conclave, Codiez, Wyverns, and anything else I could throw together doesn't exist anymore. You know what I mean? So it is a great challenge, and I am going to, do some of that same craft building and theory building and gameplay with my NIDs of like, hey, this is what I was running. How much better is it now if I do this? And there's ways in some armies that can use that, but God willing, GW willing, we don't have. Basically, I hope that most people have to change the structure of their armies. It's nothing that they haven't done before. Like, again, the Tervagon has not always existed in the NID realm. It was literally something that was created. We could have 10-man squads of Termagants and no Tervagons. And then the 6th edition book comes out, and all of a sudden now we have to take 30-man squads, and you have to take Tervagons for the most part, because of how the codex structure was. So for anybody who is salty because they can't, I bought, again, 6 months before 8th edition is done, or 9 months, I'm literally playing WarCon, and I'm having a blast with it because it was so mentally complex. I was getting a high off of playing 40K because of how complicated it was. I hope that I don't have that same army as much as I want to, as much as I just spend all the money and having to put together and paint it and everything else. I hope that I can use those models in some form of fashion, but hopefully in a new manner, for sure, at least.
Yes, I'm excited. You're going to see a lot of West Coast guerrilla battle reports coming up in June.
But now I would like to say this to like caveat on how Kenny was describing. Like, I don't really care about Age of Sigmar on this. Did you want to know, since we've been doing, especially in the Beats Lab, like no 7th edition reports, we're coming up with new things and Age of Sigmar and all this. Dog, do you know that I've literally created, and this is no exaggeration, in the last 3 weeks, I have created, I haven't even pulled up Battle Scribe. I haven't even made a single army list. Like, that is almost like, that is detox. I've completely detoxed from Army Builder or that. Like, how many times a day, think about it, guys, like in the middle of an edition, how many times a day do you pull out your phone, you check your apps, you check whatever, and literally Battle Scribe is, you're in the process of creating 7 lists at once.
That's literally my Battle Scribe day.
And so all of a sudden you're like, wait a second, what is the fucking point? So you know what I've done? I've taken the opposite approach. I have fully embraced talking, creating some lists, theory hammering and everything, Age of Sigmar. I have thought about 40K as little as possible, compared to normal, and it has definitely been more of the Age of Sigmar aspect.
Nice. Yeah, I don't know. I for me, this came at the perfect time because I was so burnt after Adepticon. I was literally just fried. And this is a good respite. Like, it came at the perfect time because, like you said, I can't build lists now because there's no point. So I was going to concentrate on AOS and everything, and things have just been so busy. And I don't know, I sit down and I grab a Stormcast Eternal and I'm like, I'm going to paint these Death Watch. It's kind of sad.
Your shit has gone full circle. That's crazy. And I know Jason said, because Jason, you said you took a huge break from Warhammer 40K. And so do you have any, what's your plans? If 8th edition pans out and gets you excited, like what's your first army you're going to jump out the gate with?
Well, I've got my word bearers sitting here that have been gathering dust for years, and I'd love to be able to break out some chaos and feel like, it wasn't just laughable on the table. So that would probably be where I'd start, although I've got a good beginning to some Imperial Guard that I'm putting together just as kind of more of a conversion thing than anything. But I've got enough stuff here that could be used. Hell, I've got Imperial Fist for 30K, but there's no reason why that same army couldn't be used as a 40K Marine army. So I am excited. The Shadow War Armageddon has got me pumped right now. We're planning on doing some of that in the new game studio here. because it fits. We're only set up for a 4x4 table with, mostly a focus on smaller skirmish games. So I'm glad that exists again and can kind of fall back into that Necromunda thing. It's just different enough, but using those models. So I think that's a good outlet. But yeah, I mean, I keep telling people, they're like, oh my God, is this going to be what gets you back into 40K? And I'm like, well, I've never have been opposed to getting back into 40K. For me, it's more, how large does my army have to be competitive, and do something that I want to do? I'm not.
And also, how many minutes does it take to enjoy the game?
Yeah, I mean, when I sit back and I play, I mean, you guys have heard me say it a bunch, and Kenny, we've had a bunch of discussions about it. For me, if the game is and I guess there's a caveat there, right? If a game can't be quick, and by quick I mean hour and a half, 2 hours max, then it needs to be engaging, so I forget about the time I'm playing. And 40K used to be like that for me, but I feel like it's not like that for a lot of people now. And so if 8th edition can work out those kinks, then yeah, I'm all over it. Hell, I'll go buy a new army. I don't care.
Yeah, Jason, I'd like to say two things. A, I need your address so I can send you a good guy 40K starter kit. High Fleet Lexus style. You can get rid of all that shit you just said, and you can play the good guys of the universe. But B, what a great way to describe a shitty 3-hour game of 40K. Like, you're literally just waiting for it to be over. Like, you're just checking, am I engaged the whole time, or am I looking down at my watch? Like, is this done? Is it done yet? It's only
you're right.
An hour and a half. Are you kidding me? Yeah. And I can go back and right as you were saying that, I was like, holy shit, do you know how many games I've played like that? And they could have they weren't just like Thursday friendly local game store type games. Like, these are tournament games that I paid money to go to and this. And I'm like, holy shit, I am only 40 minutes into this 3-hour long game and I can't keep my eyes on the table. I'm so disgusted with it.
Yeah. And then there were the other games, where you're playing 6 hours and you look up and you're like, oh, really? We've been playing for 6 hours? Or, I mean, even at Adepticon, we were playing against, I don't remember their names now, but the Space Wolf guys who gave us the Wolf Tooth necklace.
Oh, yeah, they were 13th Legion? No?
Yeah, 13th something, yeah. But and I apologize to those guys, but that game felt like I had been playing for 10 minutes. It literally, I was like, wait, we're done? Like,
it was not only, and we're talking about what was it, game 5 or 6? Was there 6 games?
It was game 6. It was
game 6 on Sunday, and everybody's drained, everything else, and we walk up to the game. I thought there's 5. So game 5 on Sunday, and so we're going and literally the game, they start the clock right away. Like, the second pairings go up. Normally they'll give you a few minutes, but I'm talking about we sat down across from each other, bullshitted and introduced each other, looked at our models, drank this mead that they created, and finished 5 turns, Haspil, right? And looked up, and there was still 10 minutes, 20 minutes on the clock. Like, we weren't rushing. It was a amazingly fun game.
And those are the ones we want. Those are the ones we want to have happen as much as possible. I mean, I think everybody's realistic enough to know that's not every game you're going to get. Great, whatever. But if it should be most of them. I mean, come on, we're playing games, for crying out loud. I shouldn't feel like it's work.
Fuck, Jason, it should be half of them at least, right?
At least half. And I just want to make a caveat to that, Haspil. If you remember, back me on this. My dice shat themselves.
Yes, they did. They were
I literally lost Warlord because I lackadaisically threw my librarian out and I surrounded him, and I was like, oh, there's no way the drop pod comes in, blah, blah, blah. Either way, this drop pod comes in. I fail a lookout check, a lookout serve roll. This guy, well, first off, a single meltagun. It was one meltagun. When does a single meltagun ever hit, period? But this guy hit wounds. I failed a 2-up lookout, sir, and then failed a 5-up invulnerable or 4-up invulnerable, whatever the case may be, and literally Warlord first shot of the game. That's how my dice of my 1,000 points went the entire rest of the game. And it was an absolute laughing blast. It was unreal. So it's not like I was sitting here saying that I had a great game and I was winning. You know what I mean? Exactly. Like, I hate it when guys do that. They're like, oh, yeah, it was such a good fan. But, you ended up 30-0 the guy. Of course you had more fun than the other guy. But, like, I was literally getting on the shitty end of the receiving stick, and I had an amazing time. One of my favorite games all weekend.
Yeah, I have to agree.
Jason, the Imperial Fists are I guess, leading the Indomitus Crusade was what that preview said. So, yeah, it'd be cool to get them back on the table.
I think that's the new dinosaur, the Indominus Rex, right? Isn't that what they're leading against him?
That's why I tell everybody, make sure you get your bronchitis checked out, because that's what killed the dinosaurs.
That's what killed the bat and lawn darts.
Yeah, you got to respect that.
Jason, you mentioned your new game studio. Is that another element of Slow Fuse Gaming on Twitch right now?
Oh, hell yeah, brother. We have, as of last Saturday, which for everybody out there that joined us for our 5,000 follower show, thank you very much for coming out. We had a blast. And it was the introduction of the new Studio B here at the crib, where we have got a 4x4 gaming table set up with 5 cameras, microphones, the whole 9, so a whole team of people can be there playing. We can do 2v2s. What we did then was kind of an introduction to Infinity, where we had a guest who is big and works for Corvus Belli, the manufacturer, and he taught some of our viewers, one of whom I think is sitting out here in chat right now, JP Gray, taught them how to play the game. And we rolled dice, drank beers, talked shit, told jokes, answered questions from chat, and did it all for 12 hours. And it was amazing. Absolutely amazing. So we have added that into the routine. We are working on scheduling so that we can get the right group of people in here on scheduled days and be throwing dice for everything from Shadow War Armageddon, some 8th edition when 8th edition comes out, if that plays the cards right, and focus on all sorts of indie games, smaller stuff that, I talked about before that are great ways to kind of buffer the time when you're waiting on your favorite game to figure out what it wants to be.
I vote you play some Rune Wars.
My God, if they made good miniatures, I'd play that game.
Oh, dude, what's wrong with the miniatures?
Nothing when they hire Angel Heraldez to paint them, but other than that, they're garbage.
Oh, my goodness.
They are, be real, they are literally 2 steps above board game miniatures, 4 steps below actual miniatures.
Fantasy Flight is not a miniature company. If they ever decide to be a miniature company, then the world is in trouble, because they have the power and the creativity to do amazing things. But come on, Rob, be honest. Those are like late 80s, early 90s miniatures, man.
They do look good painted.
Yeah. I mean, they hired Angel. Angel posted up today his work on the starter box, the 2-player box that we got at Adepticon, and they look fantastic. And I'm, so that's going to help them sell and all that. But it's like I said earlier about that one. They just need to focus on the game, get the game square away, get new people into miniature games. Exactly. I mean,
they make rules, man. They make amazing.
The game is solid.
Their mechanics are good. I'm really excited. I would be excited to play it, but you're not going to get me jazzed about those minis. There's 50 million games out there that have amazing miniatures. So yeah, that one's not high on my list, but we'll play it. We will play it.
And that also goes to show you that everybody has a different investment in hobby. Some people like Jason are very driven by the miniatures. Like he's not gonna pick up and put the time in to learn a game if the miniatures aren't blowing his hair back.
Yeah, in a lot of cases, that's the truth.
And where some people, they're all about the game experience. Like they only care about good game systems and everything else is just secondary. And that's what's awesome about creating, connections here in the hobby scene, is that we're all united by one common goal, which is throwing dice, playing games, and having miniatures painted. But each one of us has that, different sets of priorities. And going out to big conventions is the only place you get to meet all the people of a different, who have these different priorities, but all still share the same common goal. So, I think a big problem a lot of people have is we talked about this earlier, is people like to divide themselves and subdivide themselves and subdivide themselves in all these different categories. But if we just remember at the end of the day, we're all miniature nerds. We're going to have a lot better experience on the internet, at conventions, at the local gaming store, everywhere.
Yeah, and now's the time. I mean, you'll never hear me talk shit about Fantasy Flight, because they're doing a huge push to bring people who wouldn't normally even see miniature war games as a way to spend their time into the hobby. And I talk to those people every week at our game night. People that are like, hey, I started playing X-Wing, and then I found this game, or hey, what's this about? And people coming into the stream. And man, whatever avenue you take to get here, get here. And I am applauding every single company, from the smallest Kickstarter to the biggest corporate entity out there, as long as they make the right decisions, make rules that are fun, and to bring this full circle, put us at the table and let us forget how much time we spent there. Do whatever it takes to get us to that table and to forget the hours and look across and make friends. And I'm there. Doesn't matter why you're there, get there.
Fair point. Real quick. So that what we were just talking about obviously was Twitch, which is the live network. The Long War Network is live on Twitch, guys. If you listen to this and it's the first time you've ever heard me plug Twitch, you're welcome, because it's going to change your life. Definitely definitely check out the Long War Network on Facebook. Follow the links. All the schedules are posted there. Daily wall-to-wall coverage, multiple convoys on the Big Rig Network. And before we move into this commercial break, we do have something about Twitter that I'm not going to say any more of. Them I'm going to let Haspil talk about.
Yeah, so I don't mean to saturate you guys with news of the book and everything like that, but if you did pre-order Graveyard Shift, which is my novel coming out, there will be a Twitter feed starting on Friday. It's up there now. You can follow it, but there's no content, called Umbra Case Files. So at Umbra Case Files, start looking at that. It's going to have all kinds of background information. There's also a closed Facebook group called Umbra Operatives, and there will be a website called Umbra Case Files as well, but I don't think the DNS servers have propagated yet, so it's not populating correctly as of right now. But there's going to be all kinds of in-world articles and kind of like conspiracy world-building stuff that will be written in character as if that world of the novel was real. And on the Facebook group, you can participate. We're going to kind of try to work an alternate reality game going through it, kind of where you can participate and start writing about your own stuff in that world. And that's all I'm going to say about that now. I know I've been plugging it kind of hard, but that's all I'm going to say now. It's going to be very, very cool. So you guys are going to want to check it out. Content is going to start on Friday. So that's going to be 60 days out. And we'll start counting down daily.
There it is. All right, let's take a quick commercial break. Then let's do it. Veterans, I've got news for you. Get your best deals online at dicehead.com. Long War Vets, call or email for your best vet deals. That's dicehead.com.
Dear veterans, quickly, make your way to thelongwar.net and find out how to reap your hard-earned spoils of this long war. For our allies at secretweaponsminiatures.com have rewarded us all with an extra 10% discount on all Secret Weapon Miniatures merchandise. So stock up, dear veterans, and enjoy.
elricshobbies.com is your exclusive portal to upgrading your hobby. When you sign up at thelongwar.net, you gain an instant promotional discount good for 10% off at Elric's Hobbies. elricshobbies.com. And we're back. Rob, did you like my Method Man grill slurp?
I heard that. I was like, did he just slurp?
Literally at the 100th episode, only the classiest.
Yep, keeping that Wu-Tang Clan.
Wu-Tang.
Absolutely. Rob.
Definitely time to diversify your bonds.
Let me just say,
diversify your bonds.
If you guys haven't watched Luke Cage, if you guys haven't watched that, a lot of Wu-Tang in that. And there's even a scene where he goes and he does some things. I'm not spoiling anything, but they literally play the entire Ruckus track.
The motherfucking Ruckus. First one.
It's legit. There's literally, they just say, we're starting this scene with the beginning of the song and ending that scene with that song. That's how long the scene is. They did not deviate from that flight path. They kept it that real. And I was like, damn.
So classic. So classic.
Respect. Rob, anyway, top 5 Spikey Bits.
Well, I don't know if you guys have heard, but the Marines have got bigger. They clicked on some stuff on the internet and they grew. They became bigger. So
yeah, dude, they're on 32 mil bases. What are you talking about, bro?
Yep. Some of them are on 40 mils now. The
Terminators?
No, the captain for the new ones.
Primus Marines?
Yeah, the Primus Marines. So there's nobody can kind of tell what it is, but he has a bolt pistol and a sword, and he's in the Guilliman kind of pose. But he's on a 40 mil base, for jerseys. So nobody knows if that's something that comes in the starter set. You know how there's always the rando captain, it comes in the starters. Maybe it's that guy, maybe not. But so at least one of them's on a 40 mil. Who knows? I don't know. But
that's sick, bro. So are they going to be their own thing, or can you sprinkle in these guys to Space Marine units?
So the big thing is that, according to Games Workshop's preview post, is that you'll be able to put them in any Marine army using the keyword ability for whatever chapter. I'm not even going to get into the lore and all that stuff, but as far as their actual stat lines, they're an amalgam. They're kind of like a middle road between a Terminator and a normal Marine, where a Terminator seems to have a 5-up or a 5-up movement or 5-inch movement with a 2-up save, where these guys have a 6-inch movement with a 3-up save. But everything else seems to be very similar as far as stat line goes. They do have that new bolter that you might have seen, the bigger, better bolter. Like I said, they clicked on some stuff on the internet. They got some things they grew. And now they have that bolter that's got a 30-inch range, I believe it is. With a bit more kick is how they call it. It's rapid fire 1, 30-inch range, strength 4, -1 AP. So it's a little bit better than a standard bolt rifle. But I think the big
that's solid. I mean, -1. I'm sorry, Rob, didn't mean to cut you off, but definitely -1 Ren, because a regular bolt round is not -1, right?
I do not believe it was.
Yeah, and then and adding the extra range, at least these guys just don't have the same gun profile as a normal Space Marine. I hate it when something like that happens. So they're intriguing me so far.
Yeah, it isn't a cut and paste job, that's for sure. And then they touch on the fact that obviously that weapon profile will do some damage against lighter vehicles, wounding most things on 5 that are higher toughness than the strength of the gun, which we've already talked about mechanic wise. I think the big spoiler here was for this intercessor squad is that there is no special weapon or assault weapons or anything like that. But in the preview pictures, we definitely saw there was the plasma gun, the plasma rifle, or whatever they want to call it.
Yeah. That was very prominent too.
Yeah, it was in the pictures, the artwork. But then we also saw that some guest of GW that was allowed in the studio or whatever posted pictures of one of those Marines with the plasma rifle, the Primaris. So that's really hilarious. So that to me says that there's going to be more squads coming out of some varying degree of tactical capability. They also hint at there'll be a dreadnought as well.
Well, haven't they? Maybe I'm mixing stuff up, but haven't they said that there'll be an entire chapter made of those guys?
Well, they said Guillemane, I guess, in the fluff side, comprised whole new chapters of these guys, but also replaced fallen chapter, not whole chapters, but like mini companies and stuff in other chapters. So they're kind of interspersed throughout a whole bunch of different things there.
I think they've done a good job with that, so that they carry on the make your own chapter kind of feel, but even with these new Marines, so doesn't sound like it's going to be very limiting. I like that whole idea.
They also hinted at the fact that you could field a whole army of these guys, but it would be very elite and what is the word they said? Fairly compact is what they said. So it is just one type of Primaris Marine that's going to be out in the coming week. So I imagine they're going to preview a lot of stuff at Warhammer Fest, which is coming up on Memorial Day weekend. The thing that I think is the big takeaway from this preview, besides the fact that, hey, there's new Marines coming, is in the weapon profile area, they go over the stats for frag grenade and crack grenade. And this is kind of where it gets interesting. So frag grenade, if you guys have you seen, I guess we probably already seen this because this was like Monday's kind of big reveal, is the frag grenade profile. It's 6-inch range. It's a type grenade. So it's D6, I guess, shots. Strength of 3 with damage of 1, which was kind of a little different, right? So 6 shots.
That's better than a frag grenade actually is, because a frag grenade was strength 3, small blast, range 8.
Mm-hmm.
So they're saying, in compliance with these blasts becoming D6s or D3s, they're saying, yo, this is a D6 small blast. So that's pretty interesting that they're like legit. Like I thought anything that was a small blast would be D3. So that's
it's a D6 shot.
Yeah. So like they literally are like, yo, D6. I mean, that's pretty cool. So if they keep the rules the same, like one guy gets to throw a grenade, that's pretty cool.
I think that's probably why they're doing it too, because it's the random number of shots to representing one individual is going to launch the actual grenade from a point, but how many of his compadres are throwing grenades at the same time?
I think it's because it's shrapnel. It's the fragmentation grenade, because I bet you the crack grenade doesn't have a D6 roll.
Okay, I like that.
So yeah, the frag or the crack is it's one shot, string 6, -1 AP, and does D3 damage.
Yeah, see, it's because a frag grenade was a small blast, and everything that's a blast is getting to some kind of. I thought the unique thing here, like I said, is I thought large blasts are going to be D6 and small blasts are going to be D3. If this rule continues to be the trend, that small blasts also are D6s, this can mean amazing things for Wyverns.
Yeah, true story. Yeah. I see what you're saying with that.
Yeah, it's a huge.
Like Wyverns have 2 twin link storm shatter cannons or whatever, so that could potentially be a storm. So that would be twin links would be 2d6, but it has 2, so it has 4 total things on it. So so
if it was twin linked and you're at -1 blitz skill, that's 8d6 because it's double.
Yeah, if you use the double, that's for combi. Twin linked is straight up, right?
Twin linked is 2 shot.
2 shots, yeah, it's double.
So literally, a Wyvern could potentially be 8d6.
Come to find out, I heard that's good if we go down that hole.
Because I thought it was going to be 4d3 re-rolls, right, and stuff like that. But I mean, I'll take 8d6. Well, I'll take 4d6 and be happy. I mean, they can rewrite it. Like, I'm cool with that.
Yeah, let's just roll it up right now. See what we get. Yeah, so I think those were kind of the big takeaways. Like, I kind of like some of the other stuff, but it's like a lot of people say out there, like they're okay, but they don't really seem that. I don't know. I don't want to say they're not good, but they just their place kind of has a question mark next to it in my mind. Like where it's just not glaringly obvious. Like I'm going to use these guys here, so I'm kind of waiting. I'm hopeful. Wait to see the rest of the book. Kind of go from there. Before start jumping to all these conclusions, because we don't even know what else is coming out. Like maybe there's a formation where, hey, you got to take like 3 squads of these to get these other guys and this and that. We don't know yet. So for me, I need to know more on these guys right here. But I like the little snap rules previews that kind of snuck in there about those weapon profiles for sure. Then there was another article of faction focus again on the Tau. And the Tau, by the way, are no longer Tau. They're Tau. I'll let Haspil explain it if you want.
Robbie B, did you just stub your toe?
I did. I was like, Tau.
Yeah, they just added an apostrophe to them. So I was saying because, and I'm using like Vulcan and Klingon language rules with an apostrophe. So all the Vulcan names are like T'Pau and T'Pring and stuff like that. So it's got to be Tau. Which is just, I guess it protects their IP, so it works, and they don't really have to change anything. But
talk about not changing something. You can just literally throw a hyphen or a space, a dash, in anything. And Robbie B, true or false, did GW say that they're pronouncing it the same? It's not a big deal?
That's what it said.
Yeah, but but Tau is an actual Greek letter, which means it's public domain, but Ta'au is not, and you can copyright that.
Yeah, it's true.
I like it.
I think Tau is actually a letter in the Greek alphabet as well. So it kind of makes sense with what they're doing there from a business perspective. Now, as far as the Ta'au preview goes, I'll never get tired of saying that. There's some interesting snippets in here about the sniper ability, and we didn't talk about that on the webcast, so I definitely want to hit that up first right here. So they have the sniper drone profile, and the big takeaway there, at least for me, was the fact that under the long shot pulse rifle, which is what the sniper's armed with, is it says this weapon may target a character even if it is not the closest enemy unit. So I'm like, ooh, that would be a really good ability to switch over with sniper, like the stuff that Vindicare could naturally do. Apparently somebody in stream said that That's what Frontline Gaming said in one of their Twitch streams or podcasts. I forget which. I didn't personally hear it, but a couple of people agreed. So maybe that is the case, which would be really neat to see. And I think definitely looking forward to some of the old things kind of working in a manner that makes sense will be really, really cool to see moving forward. Whereas, 40K has never really been a realistic game, but I would like it to be a little bit more realistic, I guess, supposedly. Supporting fire is now called For the Greater Good, which doesn't exactly explain if it works the same or works similar. It's just, hey, this is now called this. That's all the information we have. There is a special ability called the Fly keyword, which allows them to fall back from combat and still shoot at full effect. So I guess anything that has a fly ability in there, talking in reference to crisis suits. So
what a solid rule to throw in there, considering we know that there's already been leaks of stuff that are going to potentially make things be able to assault quicker, faster, pluses to cover. Like, obviously, every army's got to get better. I don't want to see Tau get worse just because assault comes back. They still need to do Tau shit. This is an amazing way to do that.
Well, yeah, because Tau was the first time. See, like, as much as we hate Tau, we only hate it because it's obnoxious, right? Tau supporting fire rule was the first set of rules that kind of allowed an army to play to its theme appropriately in a rule set that didn't, like, they're fire base, right?
Yeah, they didn't just get a blanket like, hey, everything ignores cover or whatever.
Like, well, they got a lot of, so originally they were ridiculous. Like, everything's twin linked, everything ignores cover. Then the marker lights kind of like give you that. So they have this cool marker light system that gives you combos to make your stuff stronger. But they're fire based, right? So they don't move that fast. They have ways to kind of escape. That's why they had the assault move. That's like escape path. They don't like just forward move quick. So they are a solid fire base. Now fire bases get shit on in 40K 7th edition, unless you have this cool rule that kind of allows your whole fire base to defend itself when being assaulted. And they had that, and I like that. So I definitely want to see them keep that style of rule. Otherwise, having a bunch of cool guys who shoot sitting down at a table trying to like protect each other in one section of the table, that will always get ruined. So being able to leave the assaults and having some supporting fire rule are going to be necessary, because it seems like assault is going to be pretty crazy. There's going to be some ways to get into combat quick.
Yep. And we're about to see in our Dark Eldar coverage here that there is a really nifty rule that they previewed in that kind of takes away some of these special abilities. The one thing I do want to mention, summing up the Tau section here, was that the dual missile launcher pods, I guess, both take up a slot. So you got 3 hard points again, it looks like, and 2 can be taken up with dual missile pods, which will give you -1 AP D3 damage per shot, which seems pretty solid, at least in Age of Sigmar. That hopefully that ports over just the same. Sure, it deals damage a little differently, but I still feel like that's a solid weapon stat line to have for sure there. That was, and then they previewed that marker lights, at least one marker light on the target can be cashed in to reroll 1s on that particular target, which seems very strong in my opinion, because a lot of times you want to make sure not as strong as a straight up, because like, so if most of the Tau notoriously hits on a 4, rerolling 1s, cool. But hitting on a 3, probably better. So like, so the 7th edition is like, yo, people hit on 4s and on 3s now. Now they're saying like one marker light is reroll 1s. So this is already seeming to be like a more balanced marker light system, and I imagine the scale is going to be less. There's going to be only a few things you can do in that assist the army, I think.
Yeah, and to be honest, I believe that that's where marker lights should go. I don't think that they should be the Swiss Army knife of, you ignore this, you don't worry about this. This same light is going to strip away cover, be able to be the target lock for a D missile, and boost the ballistic skill of anything in the army. Like, I think it's a little too much. It was still ancient rules when it was just like, oh, you basically all are twin linked. Oh yeah, you basically all just have
old bad rules. It's like basically like there's 8 marker lights, so 8 laser pointers have now illuminated me as an individual. Now each person Now that I want to aim at that unit that has like a shitload of marker like lasers on it, has now elevated my ability to shoot to beyond expert sniper level. Like, and it's like, oh, okay, come on, guys. Like, I like the idea of like, oh, I can see the target a little bit more clear. Reroll ones. That's a far more balanced and thematic rule.
Well, remember too, at least in Age of Sigmar, it's very hard to get things. It's very hard to get bonuses to hit. Now, I'm not sure if that's going to port over to 40K, but seeing how, we have this ability for at least Tau using the marker lights.
Well, I was going to comment on that. The reason is because they've eliminated the ballistic skill chart.
Mm-hmm. That's true. They did. They just flat.
I hit on this number. So that is like literally all they need to do. And you notice a lot of things are hitting on a number that's a little bit stronger than typical.
Because there's going to be negatives.
Some things are wounding on numbers that are worse in some cases, but I don't. Yeah, if that's the trend, if you're saying like this motherfucker just hits on a 3, that's his jam. Like I like that is you. So you have to eliminate the manipulation to that number as much as possible. Outside of a couple of really with combos that are built around that.
And that's why I said I'm not sure if it's going to port over directly, but it's still something to kind of be aware of, I suppose. In the grand scheme of things. Now, another faction focus that came out was the Dark Eldar. And I feel like the big takeaway from this, while they seem great, and we're going to break down a couple of the weapons real quick because they seem way better than they were in the past. But the big takeaway here, talking about that fly mechanic, and well, I guess we didn't talk about the walking battleship, but the Storm Surge for Tau can not only remove itself from combat, but also shoot with no negative modifiers to doing so for retreating onto combat because it's a walking battleship, of course, right? So take that in consideration when I read to you the no escape rule that the witches supposedly have, and that makes you roll off if an enemy unit within 1 inch of any models with this ability wishes to fall back. So the enemy can only fall back if the player commanding it wins the roll off. So I suppose rules is written, like Kenny said earlier, this is just a straight, hey, you both pick up a die and you roll off. Not sure if there can be any modifiers or anything to it, but just the fact that this is an ability and this is in the game is a clear indication that there might be a ray of hope, so to speak, for a lot of dedicated assaulting armies out there when you're seeing so much stuff that allows people to just jump out of combat and retreat, get to turn and fire, or if they can't fire, their compatriots can at least fire. Not totally the case with the Tau, obviously, but, taking into account other armies. So this is a very important mechanic, and we haven't even seen things like sweep and advance or consolidate. We don't even know if they're in there, but just the fact that this exists, I feel like is a huge boon for all those, not only just Dark Eldar players out there, but, obviously the good guys of the galaxy, the Tyranids. Yeah. Or I don't know. What do you think, Juice? Is this an important mechanic?
No, this is a great mechanic. And you want to know why I love that they're throwing this tidbit out there is they could just as easily release the fucking rules, right? But they don't. They're doing it in reverse to get our minds acclimated to what kind of rules units could have. You know what I mean? Like what to expect. I love it. I really, really enjoy this. How they're basically putting these rules out, like I said, in reverse instead of just saying all units can do this. That is a spoiler rule. They're not. They're saying here's an example of a unit. If you can compare them to other units in their same bracket, if you want to, but this unit has got some really cool shit that allows them to, keep people in combat because that's where they're most effective for that unit. So I'm really pumped, especially we get this great bit of advice or foreshadowing into the new edition, especially right on the same day that we get some dope ass subterranean assault rules that I can't wait to talk about.
Yep, no, I totally agree. We do need to jump to that here shortly, but interesting you said that they're putting out the teasers the way they are. Now, coming this weekend will be, I believe, 1 month since they started going hard in the paint previewing all this stuff. And there honestly looks to be at least 2 to 3 more weeks of content on the way or previews. Now, one of our writers over on Spikey Bits, Felix, said something really interesting in one of his posts today where he was making a comparison that, hey, Apple wouldn't go and and show off every little feature of the new iPhone over the course of, 40 days, 50 days, which is true. And it kind of raises a lot of questions there. But then again, that is electronics. We're talking miniatures that are a ton more complex, I suppose, between, how they work and put them together and things like that. But it was just kind of, when I read that, I was just kind of like, it's an interesting point. It's probably not an apples to apples point, but it's definitely an interesting point. Nonetheless, I think the Dark Eldar now have a lot of other previews in here. Stuff like the Dark Lance has a strength of 8 and AP and neg 4 with D6 damage, which seems pretty good. We don't know the range on it. I imagine it's 36.
Are you kidding me? Can we talk for a second how solid that is?
It's solid.
So it is strength 8 versus strength 9. I think Kenny and I both agree there is basically no difference because you don't hit wound on something unless you are double the toughness. So you're pretty much a las cannon and a dark lance for the most part are going to be wounding stuff on 3s anyway.
They're wounding vehicles on 3s and dudes on 2s. They're both identical. Like,
yeah,
and one of them is -4 rend, one of them is -3 rend. They're both D6 damage. It is literally potentially a 36-inch range melta gun.
It is. That is strong, very strong.
That is. I mean, it's hard to think about that. Like every time someone's got a melta gun that's like just double the range that a normal melta gun is, you're like, damn, that sucks. This is potentially if it's as widely populated throughout their army as it has been in the past. And vehicles are that much stronger, Dark Eldar could be back to just as powerful as they once were back in the day, when they were like the terrors of the third edition tabletop.
Explain to me how the -4 is it because it's a lance? Is that how they're justifying?
Yeah, the lance is supposed to be like punching a hole through the armor, like precisely, it's so that's the whole idea. Is it is designed for armor piercing. The las cannon is also designed for armor piercing, obviously, but it's an energy blast in the form of a laser. This thing is some alien lance technology that's even more focused than a laser beam.
I think it shoots ninja stars out.
Yeah, that's the Eldar does at least, right?
That's what the bright lances do. They have ninja stars. They do -4.
I like how you say that.
Yeah.
They got them ninja stars.
I've been so mad about shuriken cannons and shuriken catapults. I'm like, are you serious right now? This is a ninja star thrower?
Yep.
And it's better than a bolter, which is
better. It's better than a rocket propelled missile.
It's explosive.
Like a self-propelled depleted uranium type 75 caliber machine gun bullet
that explodes.
That explodes and murders you. Like, you're gonna say like, yo, but this shoots a lot of ninja stars really fast.
This is a lot of. I need you, Kenny, right now. I need you to go up to Homeland Security or any kind of defense force that we have here in the U.S. I'm like, yo, I'm gonna sell you on 2 different weapons that you could.
Yeah, I'm trying to get this contract
right now.
U.S. Army. I'm feeling. So I got this ninja star thrower. I go through the whole thing, right, of how advanced and how many ninja stars it throws and how fast it is and how light it is. And I'm like, yeah, this is the thing I want you guys. Well, what else you got? Well, I got this. Fully automatic, no jam, flawless. You've never seen a machine gun that can be 75 caliber, full auto, exploding rounds, self-propelled, like all this. It's kind of boring. I don't think you're gonna like it. We want that. Yeah, and anybody in normal size human beings can shoot them because the special technology for shock distribution I've got this
throughout
whole
the body. It's fine.
Yeah, where humans can hold this, even potentially in one hand in a pistol form.
Yes. But I really want to sell you on these ninja stars.
Be like, we're gonna take the machine gun. What?
We want the machine gun? Give it to me.
And that's how come we lost Earth.
Yeah.
We didn't use the ninja stars.
They also have the profile for the disintegrator cannon: 3 shots, 2 damage, 3 shots that all do 2 damage and AP neg 3.
So that's 3 shots that do 2 damage each.
Mm-hmm. And
solid.
AP neg 3, so it's gonna
AP neg 3. Way to bring the disintegrator back, for the love. So no,
all they did to it, like that's what I love about this AP3 thing now. Is like it's basically the same old disintegrator. Except that now it can hurt Terminators. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what I like about it.
And you know that I hopefully now that that's going to port over to the star. And why am I having a brain fart? It happens more often these days. What is it? The Eldar equivalent to that? Star Cannon. I loved Star Cannons, and I believe that I hope to see that this comes back to it, so we just don't see Dark Lances or D Cannons or everything else around. We can see a little variety back into some Eldar builds.
So many people are going to be searching for bits. And then lastly, vehicles have a 5-up invulnerable save versus shooting attacks, and they ignore the -1 penalty for shooting heavy weapons after moving. So obviously Ravengers.
Yeah, so we talked about this. So that means vehicles are going to be able to like shoot all their guns at just -1 BS, no matter how fast they move. Now, that's huge. It's a huge change. And like I said, to make a sci-fi IP more sci-fi, they need to give us, is that the correct usage?
Yes.
Sci-fi.
Yeah,
there's a
I'll give it to you. I'll give it
apostrophe.
To you. Yeah, if there's an accent to it, then yeah.
It's spelled SYFYE.
Apostrophe. Why?
I just got triggered over that.
So to make it more sci-fi, you need to have vehicles. That's right. You need to have a robust selection of unique vehicles on the table to really give it that sci-fi look. And that's something that's been lacking in 40K. By coming out with all these new little vehicles and saying, hey, straight up, your vehicles can shoot their guns even if they move fast. Like, I love that. Just -1 BS. Oh, and also all your twin link guns have twice as many shots, but everything's -1 if you go really fast. So that changes the game, because the problem with tanks right now is like there's no mobility, right? Like a Marine style tank army, they don't move. They just sit there.
Yep.
So Blood Angels, when they were fast vehicles, remember that, Juice? Of course.
Oh yeah, I do.
Every vehicle was better. The lawnmower Predator with heavy bolters and autocannon. That was a great model because it can move and shoot. So that is already huge. And then saying the skimmer advantages is no penalty for moving and shooting your heavy weapons. And then further to that, giving us new cool rules that make every vehicle a little different. And all vehicles are going to be resilient, but even these lightly armored vehicles might have a different way of being resilient than these more heavily armored ones.
Yeah,
you're going to see vehicles are back.
Yeah, absolutely, Kenny. And I love the dialogue that we have back and forth of potentially your concept of what you think how the Dark Eldar vehicles are going to be more resilient via their flicker shields that they have now. They give them a vulnerable save to potentially even something. I think
mathematically they're going to be roughly about as hard to kill as an Armor 11 Rhino. I think mathematically when the dice are all rolled. But I think it's going to be resilient in it for a different reason, which is going to give it more different flavor on the tabletop.
Versus the Rhino, or even versus something like the Orc Truck.
Yeah, because
it's viable fire support now because it can move and put out a lot of fire. You know, whereas like the Orc Truck and the Orc Truck for sure, and the Rhino is just to deliver troops. You know, it's just to get guys.
And exactly. And so even though like a Rhino might be more heavily armored, like, so you're saying like, oh, it can take more impacts, but shouldn't the Raider be being hit less because of its mobility? So now there's no way to represent that in the battlefield because you just measure your range and say, I'm shooting this, right? So unless you come up with a complex system of minuses to hit and pluses to hit, the easy way to do it is give them both different degrees of survivability based on die rolls that add to a theme. Like if the Rhino just has a 3-up armor save and is toughness 6 and has 6 wounds, that's how tough it is to interact with. But at the Raider, let's use the Venom as an example. It's very small, very lightly armored and open topped. You can literally say it's T5 and 4 wounds. And you can literally give it a 6-up armor save and a 5-up invulnerable. And you can even say that, you know, when it jinx, it's +2 to its armor save, and both saves can potentially be used at conjunction. So you're saying worst case scenario, it has a 5-up off of 4-up, which is pretty close to a 3-up.
Yep, it sure is. We've done that math before.
And so, especially when you started counting things like rending in there, it can, in some situations, be more survivable than the Rhino with less wounds and less toughness because of a different style of flavor and a different narrative you're telling yourself. So that's how you make people want to play, different vehicles for different roles and have our IP finally look sci-fi. I cannot wait to see an army of pirate ship raiders coming at me across the table with some Ravagers, some Venoms, like literally the whole gauntlet like the old days. And conversely, I can't wait to see a Marine player have a couple of Indicators, a couple of Predators, a Predator Annihilator, Predator Destructor, a couple of Rhinos, a couple of Razorbacks, all different roles.
Maybe even a Land Speeder.
The land speeder fucking meaning something for the one time ever.
Or gasp a dreadnought.
And I know Robbie B is probably going to get to it, but I love the thought process behind a raider being able to deliver a unit like a squad of Incubi again with Drazahar, like literally two of my favorite units in the game.
Wait, doesn't Drazahar have an apostrophe?
Oh, definitely.
Drazahari.
He shoots the ninja stars.
Yes,
or even if a land speeder storm, bro, with some scouts in it, yo, I would literally lose my shit if I can get out of a land speeder storm effectively and just be like, yo, check out these shotguns with their rending and all that shit right in your grill, son. You know, like I want. Did they leak shotgun rules yet?
No, not yet.
Here's my prediction. Shotgun rules. They're gonna be like Meltas. They're gonna have two different profiles: 12-inch profile and a 6-inch profile. They're gonna do double. They're gonna do 2 damage at 6 inches.
Yeah,
that's my prediction. So
I love it.
I think that's similar to how they work in Armageddon. If you're
yes,
Kenny, I'm calling it right now. Drop pod shotgun bombs, something like that.
You're about to get scout shamed, son.
That's it. Pick your models up, bro. Come to find out, I need 600 las guns. I only need 300 shotguns. Suck it.
Yeah, we would also be remiss in saying that it's not really Dark Eldar anymore. It's Drukhari.
Drukhari.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Is there an apostrophe in there somewhere?
There is actually. There's not an apostrophe. I feel like we should put one in there, though.
There's one now.
Let's just start adding
apothecaries. Let's put
I know.
Apothecaries for everyone.
It was a Freudian slip to the 40K.
Do you need an apothecary? Do you need an apothecary?
The worst. All right. Well, let's jump over and finish out the show on the new reserve preview, which I think Juice has been chomping at the bit to play. Poof. So I think, I know we're going to spend a lot of time on this, but before we get to what he wants to talk about, let's break down tactical reserves real quick. So they kind of got rid of the null deploy in certain regards. Whereas if your army has the ability to be completely set up in reserve or not on the table, etc., technically they got rid of reserves. They said things with the ability won't necessarily work like that anymore. But in the case that maybe you take a formation.
Hold on 1 second. Reserves is going to be an ability?
So, yeah, what they were saying, where is it? For a start, not every unit can be placed in a reserve.
Word.
So, yeah, there'll no longer be universal special rules like deep strike or outflank.
It'll be per unit. So, like, your troops might not have reserve for all we know, or maybe heavies don't. We don't know. Okay, cool. I'm with that. So, right out the gate, not everything is capable of being placed in reserves.
Yeah, so that's like 3rd and 4th again.
Yep.
Yeah, but in all reality, we haven't seen this reserve aspect in 3rd and 4th. There was, like we spoke about during the webcast, if your unit could deep strike, it can only deep strike in missions that were allowed it. But reserves were always a thing. You could always hold a unit back.
No, it's not true. That's not true.
Oh no, I could always walk a unit on.
Not in 4th edition.
Oh, absolutely. I had to
outflank.
It was a mission special rule. In 4th edition, the mission had to have the reserve rule in it. Not every mission did. You could.
Oh, that's true.
Yep,
yeah,
that's right. That's right.
No, in 4th edition, it was based on the mission 100%. It wasn't until 5th edition that they said everything can be held in reserves 100% of your army. Then in 6th edition, they said the same rule, but only 50% of your army. Then in 7th edition, the same rule, all of your army again. So they're going all the way back to 4th.
Just that yeah, absolutely. And I know we were talking about it then, but man, I was just getting this strong inkling that it was literally just highlighting the deep strike, the infiltrate and stuff like that. I didn't realize that it was all of reserves.
Back in the day, it used to say in missions that allow. That was literally the tagline for all these things like infiltrating, scouting, reserves, and etc. And so I'm saying this. You touched on it earlier. GW is taking some of the most successful elements of previous editions and forging the first new edition since 3rd edition, essentially, like going over from 2nd to 3rd. So now they're taking some of the things that we knew worked in those previous editions. I love it. But they're also making it a little better. Instead of saying it was a mission parameter, they're saying it's a unit thing. which I think which is the better evolution of that rule set.
And if for some reason, like I was saying, if you are able to keep all your stuff in reserve now, you have to set up at least total the number of units in your army on the battlefield, even if every unit in your army has the ability to allow them to be set up elsewhere.
Wow. So things that are gonna change. I have to wait to see what drop pod assault is, right?
Right. Yeah. Which I imagine that's kind of what they're talking about.
If GW, but here's what I'm thinking. Here's my prediction, Juice. If GW is going hard in the paint to say something like that, and now we haven't seen any of these new data slates or whatever they're going to be called, there's not going to be an all drop out army.
Yeah, that's exactly. I was waiting to chime in. I completely agree with that. They're not going to give people the option to just bring every one of their units in on turn one. They're just going to say, hey, you can have drop pods, but guess what? You can only have 50% of your army can be in drop. You know what I mean?
Or tactical marines don't have access. What if tactical marines can't even be in a drop pod? What if that's assault marines and stern guard only?
Ooh, nice.
And right out the gate, if you need an HQ choice to play the game and they're all characters, they don't get to be in drop pods because they don't get to be in units, right?
Well, that's where they could go and take the embarkation rules from Caradon Overlords, and they're just like, hey, it's just a slot, you know.
So yeah, potentially there might be potential there, but I agree with you, Juice. I think that they're not. I think that there's not going to be these like black mains and all these crazy all drop pod armies. I don't think they're going to exist.
And also,
my 8 Space Wolf drop pods are now sad.
The reason why I'm leaning towards that also is they definitely got the pulse of the community, right? They definitely reached out and talked to some of the big groups in 40K, and I would have to admit, if they were polled, anybody could tell you right now give me a list of 5 or 10 armies that is either annoying, give you the feel badsies of this and this. A lot of people, I can see them saying, hey, 12 drop pods. 10 drop pods. They say it doesn't take long, but it is definitely it's a tough game if you're not on your P's and Q's. Secretly
one of the slowest armies to play. People don't like. Juice and I have talked about it. If you deploy, even if I don't deploy my army, right? Juice deploys his army first. So he sets up there and deploys his army the normal amount of time to deploy, and I have foregone a deployment. Now let's say it's my first turn. Okay, maybe it's not so bad, but let's say Juice goes first. He moves. He does a couple of things to try to protect some of his flanks from all my drop pods about to come in. Now I bring in half my drop pods running up, or all of them if you play black mains. Now this is not a deployment phase. I have now begun the world's longest deployment, because this is the only time you're rolling dice in a deployment, right? If I'm deploying all 10 of my drop pods now in my first turn, I'm not just putting models where I think they should be. I'm putting models where I hope they should be. Rolling a bunch of dice, finding them in their new location. And because of this random element, Juice brings this up all the time. You're going to put the drop pod here and say, this is where I want it to be, but it could scatter. Maybe I should put it here. No, I'll put it back here. You're going to do that with almost every one of your drop pods. So now you put your hand on a model 3 to 4 times before settling on the final location. Then rolling the dice, pulling out your tape measure, putting it as final location. Then carefully pulling the occupants of the drop pod out into the most advantageous position to get cover and or do damage. And you do that potentially up to 10 times.
Yeah, and you're like, literally, I've seen guys. Like, I've been in a part of the game where I'm going against 11 drop pods, and it is the end of turn 2, and my opponent's like, oh, we don't have time for another turn. I'm like, bro, if you don't get your ass out of here. It was one of those things. Not only did he put the models down, and I'm just using this, not all drop players this way or anything else, but this is what leads, this army configuration leads itself to have this door opening to play like this. I'm not only am I picking this model up to put it out in the most advantageous place, but it's like the smelter gun. No, a half an inch here. No, half an inch here. Then this bolter specifically placed. And then lookout sir shenanigans depending on what character I have. And they've done that for in most drop pod armies. They don't have a lot of bite when it comes to close combat. So what do? They load up on combi weapons. They load up on, redundancies. They load up on guys with 2-up saves that they can look out sir. So it is definitely one of those armies. So with that being said, I can definitely see the community, the talking heads that they talk to, and I don't know if that's actually a bad term or not, because I didn't mean it that way, but some of the big wigs in the game that they spoke to, that I'm sure that they lended an opinion saying, hey, if we're going to get rid of a couple things, if Death Stars are going away, if that's what we're going to put our chips into, then I would also like to put my chips into, we need to address probably flying MCs. We need to address drop pods. We need to address de-stomping armies. You know what I mean? That kind of gets all lumped in together.
GW would have been remiss in their duties, and I don't think they were remiss if they didn't just like go up to say, Jason, you're a player in this community, have some kind of focus group. What are some of the things you've observed that make you feel bad just as an observer? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, this is one of the greatest things that I read in the releases of leaks or whatever we're calling them that's happened in the past week, was this particular one about no matter if your whole army can have the ability to deploy off the table or not deploy on turn one because it's going to come in with deep strike or whatever, that 50% of them have to be on the table. There's nothing worse in my mind than playing a game against an opponent where I get first turn, right? I roll initiative. I get to start the game off turn one. And so what do? Right? I got nothing I can do. There's other games that are like this. Infinity, as an example, has an army that you could deploy your entire army in camouflage, or in hidden deployment, most of them. And so me as the opponent of that army, I look across and I'm like, I have to burn my first turn doing things that can ultimately be very, very bad for me, because the only place to move on a gaming board is forward, right? In my deployment zone, I can't move backwards. There is no backwards. So I can't provide more safety or distance for myself. I got to start moving towards objectives. I got to start doing things with what seems like no repercussions, but the repercussions come that now the enemy comes in behind me because I moved too far out. I get really bad, looks at the table for fire lanes. From a tactical standpoint, it's horrible to not know some portion of your enemy's force turn one. And so this, I think, is brilliant, absolutely brilliant, if it can, cut down the shenanigans. And as I watch games like that, I could see the passion boiling over in that person who deployed their army versus a guy that didn't have much on the table. Like, oh my God, now not only do I have to play against this army that I know is going to be brutal anyway, but I don't even know where it's going to be. And that's kudos to GW for doing the right thing on that.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely stepping up their game. There's no doubt there. Well, let's talk about this special rule real quick that I know Juice is going to want to really dig into. See what I did there? It's a new special rule for the Trigon. Never seen it before in the history of ever. It's called Subterranean Assault.
Come to find out, we've seen this rule. We've seen these letters and words to formulate a sentence before.
I've never seen this before, Juice. I think you're making that up. So now in 8th edition, during deployment, you can set up a Trigon underground instead of placing it on the battlefield. So it's not on the battlefield, it's underground. At the same time, you can set up a brackets high fleet, brackets troop in the Trigon's tunnel. So I think that what we agreed on the webcast, that what that's to us says is you'll be able to take different high fleets as a keyword to maybe gain some special abilities, et cetera, et cetera. So as long as they have that particular high fleet keyword and their troop.
And that's gonna open the door for a lot of stuff, guys. Like, that's gonna open the door for depending on, hey, is high fleet behemoth? Is that going to give my troop choice? A, is it going to unlock a different troop choice? Okay. Or B, is it going to give me some kind of bonus to my carapace? Or is high fleet Leviathan or high fleet Lexus? Am I going to get something cool? So I'm loving this aspect.
Yeah, no, I think it's solid so far. So you can put a unit of troops from that whatever high fleet in the Trigon's tunnel at the end of any of your movement phases. So whenever, set up the Trigon anywhere on the battlefield that is more than 9 inches away from any enemy models. If there is another unit in the Trigon's tunnel per above, set it up the same time wholly within 3 inches of the Trigon and more than 9 inches away from any enemy models. However, any models that you cannot place are destroyed.
I have one quick question before you go. Just Rob, repeat the placement of the Trigon.
Set up the Trigon anywhere on the battlefield that is more than 9 inches away from any enemy models.
I just wanted to confirm that it had the exact same wording as the troops as well.
Yes, it does.
The more than 9-inch wording. Okay.
Yep, more, which is the Phantom Inch.
Well, one aspect of where the Phantom Inch is gonna come in clutch is because that means now. Well, that means just now, if I do want to try to assault turn 1, I actually don't need 10 inches because it says it has to be more than 9 inches. Whether the Phantom Inch comes into effect. So I really just need to stay at the 9 because I'm already gaining some. But let's just break down what in the shit Robbie B just said, what that means, how hyped us NID players should be. And furthermore, orcs should be in any other close combat armies that have kind of taken the shaft here lately. So that means it says any movement phase. Any means turn 1, guys.
Yeah.
So turn 1, let's put it in perspective. Turn 1, I am going to have 12 to 15 units in my army, right? A couple Damasherons, the Swarm Lord, 2 Trigons now, 1 hopefully Optimus Trigon Prime, as you guys know who follow, and potentially some squads of Gene Stealers, Termagants, whatever the case may be. So I'm going to follow the rule that was set in stone that I can't have guys in reserve, aka that's what this is going to be called. Or classified as more than X amount of units. So I'm going to utilize 4 of them. I'm going to pop 2 Trigons up, turn 1, 9 inches away from the enemy. And then I'm going to get out 2 squads of 20 to 30 Termagants, Hormagants, 2 squads of 12 Gene Stealers, whatever the case may be, whatever I feel that flavor that I want to be playing with at the time. That is unreal. Mm-hmm. It does multiple fold. I wish right now, Kenny posed a question at the beginning of the podcast. Now I'm going to tell you how amazing if I had this special ability. Some people would say, oh, you have these spore mines that come down and that hold, that can drop pod in creatures and do stuff like that. Well, first off, it can't come in on turn 1. It's a reserve aspect. Okay. So I don't have any guarantee like a drop pod. Also, I want to play with my Trigons. They're actually badass in close combat. Well, guess what can't happen? If you cannot assault me if I'm double bubble wrapped with 20 Termagants. Also, if the Swarm Lord and 2 Damasherons are running up the field, you don't have enough firepower at this point in time to get through the double bubble and take down my 2 Trigons. So immediately, if I had that aspect right now, and also, Robbie B, is there any caveat in there? And again, I'm just speculator, but can I assault out of this?
So I don't see why you can't, to be honest, because all the mechanics point that way.
The current consensus is that you will be able to assault.
Right, because the example they give on the next page after this rule right here, there's nothing stopping them from charging this turn either, though at a 9-inch distance to the enemy, which is common for a lot of units. So similar abilities, so we'll probably see more of these type of mechanics here, will mean that the averages on the dice will be against you for that 2d6 charge distance. But you can always use your command reroll, of course, which we're not sure if that's both dice or just one dice.
Yeah. So, like, again, GW, you have underplayed. You have overplayed how hard you think it's going to be to make a 9-inch charge. It is actually going to be more fucking common than you understand. Because I am sure, as Kenny has alluded to and whatnot, Fleet has always been, and I would think continue to be, some form of movement manipulator. Whether you are just going to, in my opinion, gain a bonus 1, 2, or D3 inches during your movement, assault, and run phase. Okay, so that's the ability to potentially get more inches on top of the Phantom Inch. Or you're going to tell me I get to re-roll dice. Well, if they get to re-roll dice and then I get to try to manipulate a roll with my command dice, you're literally saying I need to make a 9-inch charge re-rollable? With a Phantom Inch, I will take these.
The Phantom Inch keeps it a 9. Now, if Fleet, which has historically always been a rule that they've had, remains to be an assault manipulation, then absolutely I would see that being a +1 to assault ranges with a reroll, taking you an 8-inch charge with a command benefit reroll. It is permissible that they go back to the old Fleet rules,
where you can
which had nothing to do with assault range.
It was basically run.
Well, no, it does. It actually it was huge to the assault range, but because there was no random assault distance, you just ran a D6, and you had to be able to eyeball. Are you now within 6 inches? Yeah.
Yep.
So like, oh my God, if they went back to that, I literally get to add instead of I get a D6 plus the Phantom Inch and a rerollable distance.
I can see them letting you run and assault, so I can it with fleet. So, but that means not every Tyranid unit might not have it.
Well, there's certain units, like for instance, the Stonehorns I play in Age of Sigmar, that I have to charge with them if they're within 12 inches. I have to at least attempt it, so maybe that's how some of the corn mechanics might work.
That's Kenny, you know what? And Rob, I love that too. Like some of the units that I spoke about, Termagants, Hormagants, maybe they don't have fleet, right? Hormagants now have bounding leap, so that gives them the ability to move a little faster when they run. So maybe again, please, GW, for the love of God, make Ravengers, Gene Stealers, Damashrons, Trigons, Swarmlord. That's every NID model I want to play right now in the whole 40K universe. I want to play all those big guys with Gene Stealers as my little guys again. I'm so sick of a Termagant. Please don't make me play them. But if they're good, I'm going to play the shit out of them because I have 200 of them painted right now. But because
a lot of things that people are like, I see a lot of people in the chat are talking about fleet today. Not only lets you reroll the run, it also lets you reroll any combination of dice in the assault, which is what we're mainly talking about right now. Because if you get to reroll any combination of 2 dice to get the number you want, you bring your averages to about a 9. So even
to about a 9.
Beyond a 9, like I think, because any combination dice can be thrown. You can throw a 1 and a 6, keep the 6, and reroll the 1. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so basically, we're wondering what fleet's going to be. Like, fleet has been a lot of things in a lot of editions. We're going to have a movement stat. We don't know what that stat is, and we can assume that the justification for their movement stat being so high is things like leaping bound, but they can also just say fleet is the explanation. They're fleet of foot, which is why they move so fast. So we might not get any assault manipulations here. We'll see. But I know Juice all day will be banking on rolling 9s. Like I know that doesn't even matter.
You're kidding me? Like, first off, yes.
Especially since you can set your Trigon up here.
Yes.
All your dudes, and I know you'll take the exact amount of dudes to not keep it so that if you fail one assault, you can't assault with a Trigon.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? So now you're going to try to bank down. So 2 Trigons with 2 units of blah is 4 chances for you to roll a 9 and get into combat. Like, I know Juice is going to game that.
I will get 2 units, 50-50 chance to get 2 of them. There's at least a more % chance than that. It's going to happen 100% of the time that all 4 make combat. So, I mean, it's just guaranteed death, murder, mayhem for somebody. I might just be willingly throwing my models away to you, but damn it, it's going to happen. I might be charging into Gilliman left and right, and I can't get through his armor or anything else, but I'm still doing it. I'm having a blast doing it. But the reason why I want to highlight on this point, right, it's why I'm so giddy about this. Because I'm a huge NID player and I'm so happy to getting back to my roots. I love it. I cannot wait for this, right? But I am so pumped what this means for the rest of the 40K universe. GW has literally thrown us NID players and other Xenos players a unicorn of rules, in my opinion. They have given us hope that they have fixed Subterranean Assault before. For anybody who doesn't know, for all the Eldar players out there who's like, yeah, what is this? This rule is really good. This is pretty stupid now because they've always had this. Like, no, let me tell you what it was. Subterranean Assault was in subsequent turn that the Trigon comes in, and it comes in starting turn 2 and beyond, because it just would be in normal reserves, and it would pop up from the ground. You place a blast marker representing the spot in which it came in. In subsequent turns after that, a unit that is being held in reserve can choose to come in via his tunnel. Well, let me tell you when the shit that ever happened. Never. Because to make sure that your expensive Trigon that you want to have on the board anyway is in the game, you bring somebody like Swarmlord. You bring the ability to, or want to have the ability to have a +1 to your reserves roll. So he's in on turn 2, right? Well, what does that mean for everything else that you would hold in reserve? It's in on turn 2. The one off chance that something does come in, God forbid the Trigon rolls the 1. and it doesn't come in, and everything else does. Like, it was such a terrible rule. It had zero gameplay. It was actually it was negative gameplay. So why I'm so pumped about this ultimately is GW fixed a stupid ass rule for a low end model that had probably, zero effect in knit games. They went out of their way and fixed it and spoiled it to us as one of their leagues. So just imagine the nuggets of awesomeness that they're hanging on to.
Yeah, and I think, kudos to them, because remember, the Trigon was originally a Forge World model. It was made in resin, incredibly detailed, way better than it is now. But now they ported it over to plastic. They got a bunch
I remember. I've got one.
Mm-hmm.
Still.
Yeah, thing's spectacular. And it's cool to see that it's actually, you're going to see these bad boys on the tabletop. Like, I can't wait. Like, I'm super stoked. Like, and I know you're even more stoked because
man, I'm just wait for this. Like, so Haspil, go with me on this. Your personal teleport homer. I feel like, we were just talking about how amazing the Dread Knights are, how amazing with the new point reduction that they gotten even better. I believe that they will get even better in 8th edition.
I sincerely hope so. I have like 6 of them. So
yeah, I mean, it is, and I'm just using what they just did with the Trigon, right? So they fixed a major rule that needed to be done. They gave NIDS a drop pod that is worth something besides this Spore Assist, which I do not like. I'm not a fan of. But like, let's look at something like the Dread Knight. You're going to be able to engage multiple targets with your weapons. You've got a flamer in one end, and then a good ranged weapon that potentially can kill tanks in another. And then your personal teleport homer, I would love to see if it's not a one-shot thing anymore, if it allows you to, I don't know, anything. I have just got so much positive energy after GW releasing this that I look at every unit now in 40K completely different.
Yeah, definitely. I'm excited to see, like, I'm repainting. I'm kicking up my my Grey Knights right now. I'm not repainting them. I'm just kind of taking them up a notch because I'm ready to drop them like day 1. 8th comes out. I'll be playing Grey Knights.
I can't even wait to see what we're going to come up with here at the Beats Lab to record and get on camera.
It's gonna get so icy. I'm just hoping that Spawn are good because that's all I got, and I'm going to be playing those in some West Coast Guerrilla Battle reports. So, hoping that they're not horrible.
Haspil, I want you to know I was surfing through the interwebs last evening, and I found a guy getting rid of a very large Sisters army.
Oh, dude, I have like 4,000 points of Sisters. I can't do it.
It's the caveat was specifically at the title is like no splitting, no trays, no nothing. He had 6 penitent engines, and I was like, and so now it perked my interest of I need to find 6. I need to find 6 penitent engines because I feel like they are about to be the shit, and I'm gonna want to play them.
Penitent engines, OP. Yeah, first.
I love them.
Kenny, tell me what the stat line's going to be before we get out of here.
Penitent engine will be I think that they're going to honestly, I do believe my heart that they're going to that toughness 6 is probably, I don't think there's going to be that many toughness 5 vehicles, if any at all. Okay. So I think it'll be toughness 6, 4, 5 wounds. I think the wounds are what's going to be representation of if it was a weaker toughness value or armor value back in the day. So I think it'll be like T6, 4 or 5 wounds, and it's going to have the Shield of Faith, which is going to be some kind of ward save or some kind of whatever save, because the Shield of Faith is the 6 up invulnerable, and it's going to have probably an armor save of 4. And because they've historically been faster than Dreadnoughts, they've had rules like where they raged every turn and all these other cool rules. I think it's going to move faster than 6 inches.
Like a solid 9 every turn. Would you be happy with that?
Super happy. I would obviously be happy with 9 inches. I'd be really happy with 6 inches. I'd be really happy with 7 inches.
What are we talking about?
Would you be happy with 3 inches and the Phantom inch?
I'm not going to be that's actually yeah, I would.
You just described my life.
I was gonna say, what did this show just become? I wore the wrong shoes.
I've got a lot of emails in my spam folder about the Phantom Inch, and I don't delete them. That's all I'm gonna say.
Well, I think we've come full circle. We started the show with that, and we're ending the show with that. Oh, the worst. Thanks everybody for listening for 100 fantastic episodes. Haspil, what do you got on deck for this monumentous occasion?
He tasks me, and I shall have him. I'll chase him round the moons of Nibia, round the Antaure's maelstrom, round perdition's flames before I give him up.